St. Catharines native Lorna Schultz Nicholson's new novel, When You Least Expect It, was just published last week. It's a story that many who grew up in Niagara will recognize, that of a competitive rower hoping for a scholarship and maybe one day a seat in an Olympic boat. Some of it takes place right on Henley Island. Lorna, you have some experience with what Holly, the character, is going through in this novel.
Yes, I do. In fact, I was in the first St. Catharines crew for the St. Catharines for the Canadian secondary schoolboy regatta where they allowed females to be involved. I mean, females never rowed in that regatta. And when I think I was in grade 12, and they finally said, okay, we'll have an 8 and a 4 race for the girls. And so I was, of course, one of the first ones to sign up, and I made the 8, and then I made it into the 4, and then of course our 4 won, which was really exciting, which kind of gave me the bug, because when you win, you get the bug, and that's sort of similar to Holly. She was rowing, and then she won a race, and she got that bug to compete and to continue.
Did rowing take you places like I imagine it will potentially take Holly in this novel?
Yes, it did, actually. I'm very fortunate that I ended up rowing for St. Catharines as well. I mean, we traveled down to Boston, and even in high school, we traveled down to Pennsylvania. I remember Connecticut, and then I rowed for St. Catharines, and then I went out west, and I went to the University of Victoria, and I ended up rowing there, but also coaching. So then I saw a different part of the world, and that would have been the University of Washington and Portland and Oregon and different places like that where I got to go. And one year I made the spare pair for the Canadian national team, and I got to go to New Zealand and Australia.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
You have written a number of books. I couldn't actually add them all up in my head today before this interview, but many of them are centered on sports, specifically hockey in many cases. That's an influence with living with your husband, correct?
Correct, yes. I do have a lot of hockey books. By the way, this is my 45th book.
Wow.
When You Least Expect It is my 45th book. I'm aiming for 100. So yeah, I've written a lot of hockey books, but I really felt, I felt that I had neglected this whole part of my life that was the rowing, and that, I grew up with it, and St. Catharines, and this book, When You Least Expect It, it bookends. We call it in the book business bookending. So it starts in St. Catharines, and it ends in St. Catharines. So it starts with her.
Don't give it away, because I'm only about 3/4 of the way through. So don't give anything
Well,
away.
it starts in St. Catharines. I can say that. The first chapter is in St. Catharines. So she's ended up, I won't say anymore. She rows she's rowing Martindale Pond. And so for me, when I was writing that, it was really exciting, because I could remember those days of just rowing down and seeing the trees lining the banks, and that was really special to me to be able to write that.
Having rowed for only 1 year when I was at West Park, same school that you graduated from, I think in reading this book, you have really captured, like truly captured, what it's like to be out on Henley Island and to be on Martindale Pond in a shell.
Well, I think there's that old saying as a writer, write what you know. And I mean, you can write what you don't know, but you have to do a lot of research. But if you write what you know, you can get those feelings. And as I said, for me, this was a beautiful way to go back in my past and remember those days. Remember those days of just like going up and down that course and up and down that course. And the beauty of the sport. I mean, I so much of it I had kind of forgotten. But I do have to say that I had some really wonderful people help me out with the book, because the years have passed and there are a few things that are different. So I was really lucky to have a really good friend of mine, Michelle Romack Fisher. She helped me out, and she's still heavily involved in the St. Catharines Rowing Club. And she helped me out with some of the terminology that's new, right? Because things have changed and everything changes over the years. So I was lucky to have that.